So we're coming to the very end of the 4 weeks now, and before we summarise and think about all of the evidence as to whether autism exists or not, I just want to get you to think a little bit about why we ask this question. Does it matter whether or not autism exists? Fiona, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about why this is an important question, why it's something that we are thinking about and exploring.
Well, if we were to suggest that just because we don't know what causes autism and we haven't quite got a full understanding about where it comes from, that means it doesn't exist, then you are removing a kind of population or a community for a lot of individuals who totally identify with being on the autistic spectrum. And so to remove that and to say it doesn't exist is to kind of effectively disregard quite a significant number of individuals within our society.
Mm-hmm. And do you think it's got implications for the ways in which people are enabled, the ways in which people are supported?
Absolutely, because regardless of whether we see the autism spectrum as a difference or as something that for some individuals has elements that are quite disabling for them, the key thing is about understanding why that is the case, where the strengths come from and where the difficulties come from, to be empathic to that, to be able to then support those individuals appropriately where they have areas of need.
Okay. And do you think it's got implications not just for the individual themselves, but for their parents, for their partners, for their children, in terms of the ways that they are able to understand the individual?
Very much so, because I think being able to give this a label or a name gives it some kind of structure and definition. And I think it's easier at a very basic level to be able to say to someone, this is autism, we conceptualize it in this way, we understand that people have these kinds of problems or these kinds of strengths when they are on the autism spectrum. It gives someone something to hold on to.
And what about in terms of the support that people might be able to access? Do you think that it matters having a label, having a diagnostic category that is autism, in terms of what it then enables people to access?
It certainly does in the UK, where we are very led by identifying and diagnosing, leading then to support afterwards. We don't have a setup particularly where you can access support for individual need without it being called something. So there is a drive for labelling and diagnosis, which we could debate as to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But as it stands, in order to access support, it's nice to have a thing to call it, so that we can then say this person has this particular kind of area of need, and therefore we need to give some support to this person.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it has implications for who is it who needs to do the work in terms of making changes, whether it's the individual themselves or whether it's those who are interacting within those environments and society. I wonder whether it's important in terms of those things.
I think it's very important, and our understanding of the limitations of what we can expect in terms of changes is very important. Our ideal way of working clinically now is to work as a partnership. So it's not the clinician saying, this is what you must do, go out and do it. And it's also not the people who are coming for the services who are saying, we want you to give us all of this stuff and we're not going to input. We should be working together to say, okay, where are the areas where actually, because of the way that your brain works, for example, you're actually going to find things difficult and we should adapt for you? And where are the areas where we can help you look at your things that you can do to help yourself to cope better in different situations? So we work together to find strategies that work, and some of it comes from us and some of it comes from the individual.
Okay. So we're nearly at the end of the final week, and hopefully we've given you some food for thought in terms of why this is actually a really important question. Does autism actually exist? And we'd like you to think about that and to think about the information that you have been listening to and reading and reflecting on over the 4 weeks, and to give us your opinions on, does autism exist?